All right, Illini fans, let's hear it. Would you rather face Texas or would you rather face Xavier? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another Wednesday morning edition of Locked On Illini. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here each and every day at Locked On Illini. Find me on your favorite social medias. Send me a message, say hello. And if you haven't joined the Discord yet, why not? We're already talking March Madness, the NCAA, the Cubs season started. Yes, I've been up at 5 a.m. watching this team, both games so far this year. There's a lot of talk going on, and obviously the postseason kind of starts for Illinois tonight. That's Wednesday. I believe Xavier and Texas play at about 8 o'clock this evening. It's the first matchup that's going to matter for the Illini. And of course, because it's the play-in game, to find out who Illinois is going to be facing off with on Friday evening. I figured I'd give a little backdrop on each team, and you guys can let me know in the comment section who you would rather face. I'll be completely honest with you. I've known I wanted to make this episode for a couple days now once the brackets came out, and I've gone back and forth at least 3 or 4 times deciding on who I wanted to face. There's positives and negatives to each opponent, which I'm going to discuss with you now. So that's why I kind of want to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think, who is the better matchup for the Illini on Friday. Having said that, Illinois should beat both the teams. Okay, if Illinois is as good as we think they are, as the nation thinks that they are, whether it is Xavier or whether it is Texas, Illinois should come out victorious on Friday. Now, what happens on Sunday, especially if they play a team like Kentucky? I mean, Kentucky's probably going to be favored in that game. I'm not saying that Illinois has to win on Sunday. Should they? I certainly hope so. But regardless of what happens on Friday, I fully expect Illinois to come out. And I expect, that's the key word here, Illinois to come out victorious on Friday. Let's first talk about Texas. The Texas Longhorns. What I'm fearful of the Longhorns is when they play on Friday, if they were to play on Friday, the Longhorns will have the best player on the court. And of course, I'm talking about Tre Johnson, who's averaging 20.5 points in SEC play. When I think of Tre Johnson and I think of the impact he can have on the court, what I think about is what we saw Harper do with the Rutgers in that Rutgers game, where, it's unfortunate. Like, Illinois, for the most part, almost always has the more talented roster and has the best, if not the 2 best players on the court. That's not going to be the case with Texas. And what I fear is what my episode was about on Tuesday is March makes stars. And March, there's something about the spotlight that all of a sudden, superstars are born. And the nation who may not be paying attention to SEC basketball, or if you're like me and you're a Big Ten fan, you may not be paying attention to other conferences. But when everything's mixing and matching in this tournament play, that's when you really learn who these superstars are. And Tre Johnson, hopefully Tre White, but Tre Johnson could absolutely be one of those guys. Tre had 39 points just last month against Arkansas. And he's capable, quite honestly, of hoisting the team on his back and doing it again in a game or 2 in this upcoming tournament. Texas has been struggling over the last couple weeks, but they did get a couple SEC wins, which has certainly helped their tournament resume out. A resume which honestly is not that impressive compared to what their roster looked like. It's been an up and down tenure for Rodney Terry, their head coach, who obviously most of us know took over for Chris Beard because Chris Beard had those off the court issues. And I believe he led him to an Elite 8 run when he took over Chris Beard's roster, and they took the interim tag off. They hired Terry. And I'll be honest with you, now that I live in Austin, I can tell you the mood is very up and down on Terry. Like, I genuinely think that if he's one and done, well, Yeah, certainly. Wednesday night. If he loses Wednesday night, I can see the Texas Longhorns deciding that they want to move on and go in a different direction and him being let go. If he loses on Friday, I guess maybe that discussion is a little bit more up in the air. But I can say that Texas fans aren't exactly comfortable with Rodney Terry in charge. Texas was a preseason number 19 team in the country, but they lost almost immediately, and they were never a top 25 team again. Again, Ken Pom, they were 44th, and over the last month, they were 3-5 against Ken Pom top 25 teams. They were 4-6. Texas, quite honestly, reminds me a lot of Illinois in the sense of inconsistency. They're a talented bunch. They're an absolutely talented bunch, but they have more questionable coaching. And again, just their style of play. I just don't know if Terry is quite ready to be the head coach of a program like that. And, on one night, they can beat some of the best teams in the country, but on other nights, they can absolutely lose to some of the worst teams in the country. Who does that sound like? That sounds like the Illini. Let's talk about a little about Xavier, led by Sean Miller. Xavier's been on fire. They'd won their last 7 games of the season. I believe they're actually favored by 3.5 points over Texas on Wednesday night, at least as of this recording. It might have changed by now, but I think that would have surprised a lot of people because most of the people I'm listening to, the previews I've been reading, the podcasts I've been listening to, all make it sound like Texas is the more daunting opponent. And I kind of understand why, but I just don't know if enough credit is being given to Xavier. Xavier is led by all Big East second teamer Zach Fremantle and 6'4" guard Ryan Conwell. 2 guys, notice 6'9". I guess that's kind of tall, but he doesn't really play like a big man himself. And 6'4" guard Ryan Conwell, Tre Johnson, 6'6". The one good thing for Illinois in this particular matchup is that neither opponent has bigs that could try to take advantage of what seems to be a weakness of Illinois', inside physical play. We're not going to see that against Texas or Xavier. What we might see against Xavier is 3-point shooting because they are one of the best, I believe, 5th or 6th in the entire country in 3-point percentage. Let me pull that 38.8% from 3-point land. And that's what kind of makes me worried. That and the fact that I think they have one of the better coaches in the entire country. Sean Miller has won multiple games in the tournament 8 times in his career. It's just he's a very good head basketball coach. Clearly an upgrade, in my opinion, than the one that he's going to be playing on Wednesday night. No disrespect to Terry, but Xavier certainly has the advantage on the head coaching side. The talent side, probably I lean towards Texas. Obviously, when you have a top 5 player projected in the NBA draft, you lean towards that way. And then you have the NIL funds that the Texas Longhorns come with. They've got more transfer players, more notable players. Let's put it that way. Xavier's a good defensive rebounding team, and they don't foul a lot, which Texas absolutely does. So again, 2 things that, again, it goes in line with what I've been saying all along, right? Texas is just so inconsistent, and it's maddening if you're a Longhorns fan. I can completely understand why. Then Xavier, I think, is just more of a steady ship, a mid-major who makes you beat them. And so that's where we come down to this. It's like, who would I rather face on Friday night? Would I rather face the Texas Longhorns, who are going to have the best player on the court, who very well could have a player that could take over the entire game, or would I rather play Xavier? Xavier, a team that's really coached really well and shoots the 3-pointer really, really well. And quite honestly, I think I would rather play the Texas Longhorns. And I can't believe I said that. But truthfully, for me, when I think of Sean Miller, I do think of a guy who can game plan circles, maybe not circles, but he can game plan around Brad Underwood. And look, I'm about 9.5 minutes into this episode, so I'm hoping the Brad Underwood haters had already tuned out by now. But I think ultimately, if Illinois were to lose to Texas on Friday because of a crazy Tre Johnson game, somehow I would be more okay with that because of the nature of college basketball. And as I mentioned earlier, that's where No, people make their names. The superstars are born. What I'm fearful of is a team like Xavier, who's well coached, who has a bunch of guys who, let's be honest, 90% of us probably couldn't name a single guy on Xavier's roster. But they come into the game just with a game plan. I'm having flashbacks of Loyola, just a Sean Miller game plan where they take, Kasparis out or Will Riley out, and somehow Illinois, because the team is so young, and I'll talk about that in the second segment, isn't able to adjust in time. They get shocked right off the beginning. 3-pointers are falling for Xavier. The crowd gets behind Xavier, or at least the crowd, which should be pro-Illinois, starts getting quiet, starts getting nervous. And we know that that can absolutely happen because we've seen this basketball team play. There is not just a panic meter with this basketball team. There's a panic meter with the fans because we don't even know what to expect right now. But, regardless, Wednesday night, we'll all be watching that game. Again, I want to hear your guys' thoughts because, quite honestly, by the time it's lunchtime today on Wednesday, I might decide to flip. And I'm like, never mind. I'd rather face Xavier. I'd rather not go up against a team that has the superstar talent on it. I'm going back and forth. Regardless, though, I think you all agree with me. Illinois should win Friday. I know they're going to be favored against whoever they play on Friday evening. But this is a game, a must-win for the Illini. I just think I would right now be a little bit more comfortable if Illinois was going up against Texas, just because I think I like the Illinois roster. I'm very confident that the Illinois roster is more talented than Texas is, and I'm even more confident that Brad Underwood is a better coach than Rodney Terry. When it comes to the Xavier roster, it's not always about the roster. The talent with Xavier, I guess they're not mid-major. What am I talking about? It's Big East. But they're clearly the fourth biggest power conference. And with Xavier, they're coached well and they shoot threes. And for me, I don't know why, but they just kind of remind me of the type of team that can have success in March. A group of guys who just hit three-point shots, don't make much mistakes. Look, Illinois, they can be prone to making mistakes. So as of now, I think I'm much more fearful of playing Xavier, but I could change my mind in an hour. By the time I finish this episode, I might, in the third segment, I might just be like, hey, I changed my mind. I'd rather play Xavier. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates will present themselves to choose from. Cost-effective growth instead of hiring full-time. Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale any business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with the top talent and grow your business today. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing the future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me that peace of mind. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan your child's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button on this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's my goal to make it to 2,400 subs before the end of the season. Now, hopefully, that means we have another month's worth of time left. But, of course, unfortunately, with the way the calendar works, the next game the Illini play might very well be the last of the season. Let's talk about that for a little bit. I just got finished discussing Xavier and Texas in the previous segment. If you haven't watched that, if you're watching this standalone, make sure you tune into that. What really am I kind of nervous about on Friday? And I think it's kind of obvious. I think it's what most of you are probably nervous about. And that's just the complete lack of experience that this team has. I know we have a very favorable situation. We're going to be playing in Milwaukee, and it's a very short drive away. And again, whoever they're going to be playing, whether it's Texas or whether it's Xavier, Illinois is going to be favored because Illinois is the better team. But Illinois is also, I believe, the 301st in the country when it comes to returning experience from last year's team. The numbers are daunting. And for someone who has been watching March Madness for as long as I have, I trust the more veteran teams. I trust guys that have been there. And this is me taking all bias out. When I'm doing a bracket, by the way, there is a Locked On Illini bracket in the Discord. So make sure you click on the Discord link and join our collective bracket that we have going for the show. But usually, when I'm filling out a bracket, what I like to do is pick teams that have a good stable of veterans on it. And not just veterans, but guys who have a veteran in the NCAA tournament sense. And Illinois really doesn't have many. In fact, they probably, by my definition, only have one. And that's Kylan Boswell. Sure, Ty Rodgers, but Ty Rodgers is not going to spend a minute on the basketball court on Friday night. You have Tre White, but Tre White only played, I believe it was 15, 20 minutes in the one game that he played in the NCAA tournament. What I think Illinois needs more than anything else on Friday, Illinois can beat Texas and Illinois can beat Xavier without a big Kasparis game, without a big Will Riley game. I genuinely believe that. But what they'll need is their teammates to lift them up. And by those teammates, I mean Kylan Boswell, Tre White, and in a smaller aspect, Tommy Avicic. Tommy technically first year in college basketball. Yeah, he's never had this NCAA tournament experience, but he's an older, I think he's 21 years old. He's an older basketball player compared to his peers. I think right off the bat in the first half, the main thing I'm going to be looking forward to watching is Kylan Boswell just, I hope, taking on that leadership role that we're kind of counting on him for. He's had to deal with a lot of drama over the last couple of weeks with people outside the basketball court, previous reporters who covered him at his other destination. And, there was a lot of commotion about when he decided to come to Illinois. A lot of Illini fans were very excited. You have the hometown former 5-star kid come home, as a junior, and hopefully he can elevate this program that just went to the Elite Eight last year. Arizona fans, they weren't exactly too upset with Kylan leaving. And, it can be argued that Kylan at the end of the season really didn't fare all that well for Arizona in their biggest games. Well, he can change that narrative this year, and in particular with this Illinois basketball team. What I want to see from Kylan is what he did in that first half against Michigan. Again, it's going to be a very hectic, crazy atmosphere for this basketball team. And yeah, we have a lot of talent. Tre Johnson, Kasparis Jonas, Will Riley, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know if all that talent can all of a sudden be ready for the moment. And that's why I'm hoping, it's Kylan and Tre White in that first half, both giving you 8 points, maybe double-digit points, and saying, guys, we got this. I think they're going to be ready. Kylan was asked about this, and he responded, not wanting to lose. Honestly, that's just the biggest thing right now. Everybody's just making sure we're getting the right rest, the right preparation. I think us watching film and making sure we're dialed into scouting reports would be huge too. you just lean on your preparation. I feel like a lot of that happens when you play these big games. If you feel nervous or something like that, but you know how much work you put into the gym, and the game will always repay you. Brad Underwood himself understands the magnitude of this game, and I'm very curious to see how he handles setting the expectations for his roster. And Brad had this to say: they've got to understand the cliche I use, the urgency of the end. They've got to understand that. I think the Big Ten tournament helped us a little bit understand some of that, the excitement of the first game, and you can't get overzealous or too high if you win, because you got another one coming around real quick. So I think there's definite excitement. Kylan and Tre have been in it. They understand. Draven last year, the group of guys that are in that locker room, Ty Rogers, AJ Red, Keaton, have all been a part of that. They'll help navigate that with the guys. But at the end of the day, it's a game. It's just a little different vibe. We'll be all right. The month of March, you're going to see the best college basketball players in the world establish themselves as household names. And you're going to have players you've never heard of from smaller schools make buzzer beaters, or lead their teams to Cinderella runs to the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, or Final Fours. For a team like Illinois, we have players like that are capable of doing it. I've said it before. I think we need Kaspersky to hit his peak in order for Illinois to hit their peak. But just in case he can't, I really do think Will Riley has stepped up as of late over the past 3-4 weeks to the level where he can be the best player on what can be an Elite Eight team. But I don't necessarily think it's those guys that we're going to need on that opening weekend. It's the first game, which I'm most nervous about, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Why? Because of what I said earlier. Unequivocally, Illinois should win on Friday night. They are going to be the better team, whether they play Texas or whether they play Xavier. But with the history that comes with Illinois in recent memory, with the Brad Underwood teams losing to Loyola, losing to Houston, even though technically they were the underdogs in that Houston game. I believe Illinois was a 4 seed and Houston was a 5. The narrative is still there about Brad. And despite winning 21 games this year, certainly if he loses on Friday, I'm not saying the seat is even remotely warm, but a lot of the Underwood detractors, a lot of you are watching this and going to be in the comment section, will have an entire offseason of, I don't know what the word is, gloating, or at least having the leg up on the conversation. And I can't blame you. For me, I've said it, they need to win Friday. Sunday is going to be a toss-up game between Kentucky, Illinois, two teams that are very up and down, finesse teams. It's a game I'm looking forward to seeing. I don't know who's going to even be favored in that game. But Friday, you've got to win. My expectation is Sweet 16. But no doubt, again, in order to not get into any sort of panic mode, which I know Illinois fans absolutely will, and maybe it's deserved with the amount of money that Brad Underwood's being paid, but it's Friday that's I'm most nervous about. And I will be much less nervous if I know the veterans on this team can handle that first game and handle the brunt of that responsibility. Because Tre White and Kylan Boswell, I would honestly say the second or third best teams on both, second or third best players on either Texas or Xavier. They're that good, especially the way Tre White has been playing over the last month since essentially Morris Johnson went down. Tre White's a really good college basketball player. Kylan Boswell is a really good college basketball player. We need them to step up, not just be good college basketball players, but to be the veteran that this team needs. This team is young. They're not. Teach them. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
And that'll wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. I'm looking forward to this game on Wednesday night. Really getting an up close and personal view. I mean, I've watched a couple of Texas games. Obviously, they're the local team here now, but Xavier, I have not seen much of. You know, my entire professional career revolves around covering the Illini, covering the Big Ten, and the Chicago Bears. So I don't have exactly much free time to watch other teams. So for me, getting a close upfront look at Xavier, I think I'm going to learn a lot about this basketball team. Again, as of now, I think, I'd still rather face the Texas Longhorns. I'm very curious on your guys' thoughts. Are you more afraid of the big name, the Tre Johnson, or are you afraid of the upgrade at coach with a guy like Sean Miller? I want to hear your thoughts. Regardless, you will have a lot of content coming up right here on Locked On Illini, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you've hit the like button on this. Help us on our journey to 2,400 subs. Just know I appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.